Hey, what's happening, everybody? This is L.A. Williams, Vice President with Dealer Synergy and one of the creators of the Millionaire Car Salesman Podcast. So, first of all, before we even introduce the host of this thing, I want to personally listen to this week's and last week's episode because I'm actually in an environment that I like to be in when it comes to audio, right? So, our producer Griffin, we've been doing some things. So, y'all tell us if the audio sounds better, all right? So, now with that being said, I want to bring in the millionaire car salesman himself, Mr. Sean V. Bradley. What's happening, Sean?
What's up, brother? This is SVB, and the place to be is the Millionaire Car Salesman Podcast. And let's start right there. I want to make clear that I'm not gender biased by calling it the Millionaire Car Salesman community, because I have people say, what about millionaire car saleswomen? Let me explain. I, Sean V. Bradley, am the multi-millionaire car salesman. I am a legitimate, verified multi-millionaire. I've been a millionaire since I was in my 20s, and I'm pushing 50 now. I'm 48 years old. So people get confused. It's not the Millionaire Car Saleswoman podcast. It's not the Millionaire Car Salespeople podcast. I call it the Millionaire Car Salesman podcast because I am a millionaire and I am a car salesman. LA, does that make sense to you?
Makes sense to me.
All right, there you go. Now, so again, the whole purpose of this group is I don't want to be basic. I'm not trying to teach you all how to make $100,000 a year and have $100,000 in the bank. I believe first and foremost, you shouldn't be impressed that I'm a millionaire because it's kind of sad in my opinion. And I feel bad if you're not even at the millionaire status because there are so many people that are making tens of millions of dollars or worth tens of millions of dollars, or there's centimillionaires that are worth 100 or hundreds of millions of dollars. And everywhere you go, you hear that this person's a billionaire, they're working on $1 billion, whether it's Grant Cardone or it's Kanye West or it's LeBron James. You know, making money is a lot easier than it ever was before. And then because of inflation and things like that, if your goal is just to be a millionaire, I feel bad for you. You might be eating cat food, dog food, if you're retirement, if that's all you got, because you're going to burn right through it. This whole podcast is to teach automotive sales professionals the skills, tactics, best practices, secrets. We're trying to get the information from people that have it to give it to the people that need it so you can truly become a literal, not metaphysical or metaphorical, multi-millionaire car salesperson. I am the car salesman. You might be a female or whatever gender you identify with. So now, LA, do you have any questions about that, brother?
No questions about that, man. I think it's so important, though, for people to understand about making money and how to, because it's not just about making money, it's also about keeping money. And so that's what we realize in when it comes to making sure that we're setting aside money, putting in the places where it's going to grow for us. Because I always ask my son this question. I say, what's the purpose of money, right? And I want to remind him that money is a seed, right? You plant it somewhere and it grows, right? That's the whole purpose of money, is so that it grows. However, I do understand that in order to have some money that we could grow, we're going to have to make some, okay? And so today, Sean, if it's cool with you, I want to discuss one of the number one questions in the Millionaire Car Salesman Facebook group. And what is it? It's all about pay plans, right? Hey, how do I know if my pay plan's bad, good, all that and different? We're going to be discussing that today on the Millionaire Car Salesman Podcast. However, we got to pay some bills. So, because folks need to get paid, right? So we're going to go ahead and do that. And when we come back, we're going to be talking about pay plans, pay plans, pay plans. It's the Millionaire Car Salesman Podcast. We'll be right back.
This episode is brought to you by Podium. Here's a question. How much would your business change if you had one more employee who worked 24/7 to turn every lead, including the ones that come in after hours, into test drives, sales, and more money for your dealership? Meet Jerry, Podium's new AI BDC. Jerry is a lead conversion powerhouse designed to respond instantly to every incoming lead to answer questions accurately, keep leads warm, and schedule test drives, all without direct human supervision. And the best part? With a seamless handoff to staff on the sales floor, customers will never know they were interacting with an AI to begin with. See how Podium's AI BDC can help you sell more cars by visiting podium.com/MCS. That's podium.com/MCS, or click on the link in the show notes below. Introducing Dealer Synergy's brand new 55,000 square foot outsourced BDC. Over 2,000 highly skilled agents are not just making and taking calls, they're transforming customer engagements. Our agents are specially trained by Dealer Synergy, a name trusted in automotive sales training for over 20 years. With access to decades of proven methods, they're equipped with the skills and confidence to handle every customer interaction. Combining Dealer Synergy's advanced training with the cost efficiency of a Belize-based team, our BDC helps you grow your business and maximize every opportunity. The native language in Belize is English, so no customer will be affected by agitating language barriers. Through Dealer Synergy's industry-leading training, these agents are primed to deliver results that boost your dealership's bottom line. Our goal: keep your showroom full, your customers engaged, and your reputation shining. Dealer Synergy's BDC is your partner in elevating customer satisfaction and bringing in a steady stream of ready-to-buy visitors. Contact Dealer Synergy to get more information to sign up today.
All right, ladies and gentlemen, we are back on the Millionaire Car Salesman Podcast. And so I already kind of told you what we were going to discuss today. It's all about the pay plans. And because it's wild, because I as I sift through the group, I'm in there, posting stuff, giving tips and everything like that. But I'm always coming across these pictures. Y'all put up these photos and I don't know exactly what they say, but it says, hey, is this pay plan good? Like, am I getting a good pay plan? So, Sean, have you seen that in the group specifically? I want to kind of touch on this.
Yeah, LA, that is absolutely, I would agree with you. The number one question or post that we get is basically somebody will go into the Millionaire Car Salesman Facebook group and they'll post a snapshot of their pay plan or a screenshot of their pay plan and say, is this good? So first and foremost, let me just say this. It's not about the pay plan. The pay plan is not, for the majority, and I'll clean it up in a second, but for the most part, it's not the pay plan why you are sucking wind or broke or not making money. I'm going to tell you right now, it doesn't matter about the pay plan if you've got the skills to pay the bills.
Mm-hmm.
I can tell you this, what's more important is the dealership that you're at. Now, that doesn't mean that there is no value of a pay plan, from ABC Motors versus XYZ Motors. And yes, there might be some pay plans that might be better, but technically, respectfully, LA, I'd rather be at a better dealership that has more ups, more opportunity, that respects me, that I'm not working slave hours like bell to bells, and there's opportunity and there's training and yada yada yada, versus having a great pay plan that I could never hit. Does that make sense?
Absolutely. It's crazy.
Okay. So now with that being said, I do want to go over some basic things, that people have problems with and why they're posting. One of the issues is like low commission rates. Some dealerships lowball salespeople with commission percentages, which we'll get into. Mm-hmm. Now, for example, getting paid on the front end of the deal versus the back end of the deal or versus front and back end. Let me explain what that means to people that don't know or that are thinking about getting into the industry. Usually, typically, a dealership is going to pay with a draw. Now, there are some dealerships that have salaries, but the majority of franchise dealerships in the United States have what's called a draw. A draw basically means that they're going to front you money. So let's say you have a $500 a week draw. That means $500 would come into your paycheck, but that's not your paycheck. They're loaning you the money based against your commissions at the month. So dealerships that have a draw, they'll give you X amount of dollars, $500 a week. So that's, again, about $2,000 a month is a draw. And then once a month, you'll get your commission check. And let's say you've got $3,000 in commissions that month, then what they'll do is they'll turn around and instead of giving you the $3,000, they'll only give you the difference, which is $1,000. Now, what happens is a lot of dealerships that have draws, here's a problem. If you don't have the proper training, the proper strategy, or the proper opportunity, the draw might sound good instead of just not having anything. But the problem is this: if you don't make your draw, you could owe the dealership money. And I've seen this all the time, especially new trainees that just come off of the training pay plan and they go straight to draw. They owe the dealership. So instead of saying, I'm going to pay this back, they'll just quit and they'll jump from dealership to dealership to dealership. So what I would suggest to management or ownership listening to this, you need to have a realistic expectation for a new hire. Okay. What you should be doing is focusing on a training pay, almost like a guarantee, not a draw, and don't hold them to the candle unless A, you've given them the proper amount of training. B, you give them the proper amount of time to learn and get into that training. Then and only then should you have the conversation with them if they're ready to go into the performance, pay plan, which is a draw. LA, what are your thoughts on that concept?
Yeah, absolutely. Because sometimes it's completely unfair, right? It's because I don't have the skills. I don't know exactly how this thing works. I don't know what the deal jacket's supposed to look like. I don't know who to talk to. Blah, 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 blah. And now I'm, being as pulling against my draw. And now I have no money. And now I owe money. And I'm in a messed up situation, right? So again, that's something that leaders got to really think about. Hey, decide together, right, when it makes sense to move a person from the training guaranteed pay to the draw system or whatever your pay plan is.
100%. You know how we say in business, we're both business owners, we're both millionaires right here. Again, not all money is good money. I turn down money, I turn down deals all the time because it's more aggravation than it's worth.
Mm-hmm.
I know that if you have an HR deficit and you need bodies, sometimes instead of hiring somebody to make it instantly a little bit more convenient, if somebody is not a good candidate for a draw or for a performance-based pay plan, I mean, think about this. Can you imagine if somebody's out of work or they're just trying to get their first job or whatever, and they've never worked on a performance-based environment? They think that, because we're salespeople, managers of salespeople, we're selling them on the dream. Hey, you can make $120,000 a year. They're like, yeah, let's get it. And then the next month they're dead broke. And they're like, and then you wonder why they quit. There's part of the reason why we have a 70 to 80% attrition ratio. So again, when you're talking about pay plans, look, that's the first thing I'm going to worry about. Forget about your stupid percentages, because you might be like, oh my God, I could get a 30% commission. I could get about like 5% on the back. Isn't that great? There's not a big pack. I'll get into what pack is in a couple minutes. And then you're like, I'm in, but you can't sell no cars. There's no leads. There's no ups. And now you're in the hole and you owe them. Do you see what I'm saying? So
right.
I would say the very first thing you need to pay attention to is, what is the guarantee? That's the first question I would say. Hey, is there a training pay? Is there a transitionary pay? Because even if you have experience, but you're coming from out of state or from a different dealership, you're going to need to get your sea legs. You need to possibly relearn new product, new information, value package proposition, chain of command, yada, yada, yada. So the first question I would say, which is more important than percentages or front end, back end, is what's the guarantee? What's the training? What's the training pay, etc.? Oh, okay, it's performance based. Hey, what happens if it's in the first 30 days that I'm on this draw? If I don't make the draw, do I really owe you money, or would you forgive it? Those are the type of really intelligent questions that I would ask. So LA, do you have any questions for me based on that, if you were a salesperson?
Man, I think that, so when should a person ask these questions? Or is it like during the interview?
At the interview, before you take listen, if you're going hunting, are you going to ready, fire, and then aim? No, my dude, you're going to ready, aim, and then fire.
Well,
Why am I going to turn on and get a job and don't know what the pay plan is or how it works? That's what half the problem is that you get spotted. Oh, I'm going to get a job. I'm working a car dealership. They might give me a demo or whatever it is. And you don't even know what the damn pay plan is.
Yeah, I love
You know that? Why is it the number one freaking question in our group? That shouldn't be the number one question. You should already have all that knowledge before you take the job. Hello?
You telling the truth. Look, I couldn't even get the question out. It's such a passionate response. So again, sometimes people don't do that stuff. And so it's almost just like training, right? We talked last week about how, people will, they'll start work and they'll be kind of, mazel tov doing their thing and everything. And then as soon as when the fire gets lit and it's like, oh, you're about to get fired, they like, oh, I need some training, LA. Yeah, it's a little for you. Like, you should have been training all this time that you've been moseying. It's the same deal when it comes to your pay plan. You want to ask questions early, right? You want to be prepared, right? Prepare. What they say, preparation prevents a piss poor performance.
Absolutely, LA. Let me now double down on this too. So again, now that we talked about the draw, the training pay and the guarantee and that type of stuff, let's talk about percentages. There are a couple of variations of this. Some stores are one price stores. Okay. So that's going to mitigate things, because if you have a one price store, a lot of those one price stores don't pay you on gross. They pay you on flats. Okay. So that might be $100, $150, or $200 for X amount of units. And then there's a stair step. So if you get to 10 cars, then maybe it goes to $200 or $250, per car retro. Or if you get to 15 cars or 20 cars. So again, there is a difference. Mostly it's either a percentage of the gross, which I'll get into, or it's a flat rate. I'm going to give you my preference. I would never personally work at a dealership that was a flat rate. Okay, that's just me personally. That does not mean that flat rate pay plans can't be good. It does not mean that a dealership that pays you just on flats or on volume is doing anything nefarious or unprofessional. I'm just telling you from 27 years experience, I'd rather get paid on gross because I'm a master of my craft. I'm a master at closing. I'm a master in qualifying, and I am absolutely a master of the rules of engagement and how to make gross. And my thing is this: if I'm going to be responsible for a $5,000 or $8,000 or a $10,000 deal, and you want to give me a $200, fuck out of here with that bullshit. You know what I mean? Like, that's just me, but I'm experienced. Now, there might be other mitigating points or value that for someone else, especially a new person, that might be good. LA, your thoughts?
And then you also got to think about, okay, are the deals that are coming through, is it a bunch of deals that aren't making money, right? Like different kind of stuff like that. So you want to study the market. You want to know what it is that you're dealing with, right? I know we have a friend who does a lot of special finance stuff where the money, and not to say money can't be made in special finance. I'm just saying, for these deals.
There's a lot of money can be made in special finance, sorry, but there is a lot of gross.
Exactly, right? So what I'm sharing though is like, if it's a situation where, you make $75 or something like that, then okay, maybe the $200 is a better situation. So again, you want to be able to study what the deal is. I like this, Sean, because we're giving folks literally the secrets.
No, this is secret. This is high end stuff. This is like almost 30 years of experience here. Let me now double down on this, LA, because this is some very interesting point. Here's what I'm going to tell you where flats are definitely better. You got to realize, and this is the interview questions that you're talking to a dealer if you're trying to get a new job, you're trying to transfer. What kind of dealer? So I'm going to role play with you, LA. So if you're my general manager, I'm saying, Mr. Williams, I'm just curious. I understand that some dealerships are volume based versus gross based. What kind of store is this? And if the dealership says, hey, we're volume based, let me explain what that means. That means sometimes that they're not worried about the front end gross because certain manufacturers have what's called back end money or what's called retro money. So let's give you an example. One of the manufacturers that was massively huge with this type of strategy before the pandemic was Chrysler, Dodge, Jeep, and Ram. So I could tell you tons of CDJR dealerships that would take, let's just say they have a Jeep Grand Cherokee or whatever, and let's say there's $1,800 gross from invoice to MSRP. I'm going to round it up to $2,000. So follow my logic here. If they were going to give 25% commissions if you grossed at full list, right? That would be a $500 commission. But here's the strategy though. Hey, I'm not going to try to hold gross. I'd rather turn around and give these cars away. Why? Because certain manufacturers say, hey, if you sell X amount of, Jeeps or Rams or whatever it is, if you sell 20, 30, whatever, we're going to give you retro an extra $400, $500, or $600 per copy. So think about it. So a lot of stores might have a strategy where they're okay with dropping the price under MSRP or even at, invoice, and even in some cases, triple net. You understand what I'm saying? Like a dead cost. Why? Because they're not worried about making the front end gross, because if they sell enough of those, Grand Cherokees or Ram 1500s or whatever that program's on, they're going to get back end money anywhere from like, let's say 5,000, 10,000, 50,000, 75,000. I know some stores that make six figures in retro money or back end money. So if you worked at a volume store that was basically focused on not the front end gross, but the volume so they could get the manufacturer kickbacks or retro money, then in that case, 1,000%, I don't want gross. You can have that gross. I don't want gross. Gross is gross in that situation. I want the stair step. Does that make sense, LA?
Yeah, absolutely. Because the more I do now, the more I get paid.
So again, I want to make sure that I didn't lose anybody when I was like, I prefer gross. That's just my preference. I prefer to work at a gross store. My preference. Okay, just like I love orange. You might not like orange, but I love orange. Doesn't make orange right or wrong. It's just my preference. So again, I want to be clear. If you're working at a volume store that has an incremental stair step program that are flats or fixed commissions, that's not bad if you work at that type of store. It is absolutely silly, in my opinion, if you're working at a grocery store with that pay plan and vice versa. It, you know what I mean? That makes sense to me. Now, here's a big okey doke, LA. Pack. Woo-wee. This is where you get smacked and cracked like a baby seal on the inside. So let me explain it's not a hustle and it's not bad. What a pack is this. Is that it's basically saying, remember the example, let's just say that there's a $2,000 gross potential profit from invoice to MSRP. So that means if I sell a car at full sticker and the dealership makes $2,000 gross profit on the front end of the deal, okay, I could make, again, if it's 25% commission, what's that commission, LA?
$500.
Yeah, but not really if there's a pack.
Right.
Okay. Now I'm going to tell you the difference a new car pack versus used car pack and that. But let me explain what a pack is. A pack means that for whatever that number is, it's a $500 pack, it's an $800 pack. That means it's taken off the commissionable gross. So I'll give you an example. If you have a $700 pack, that means if you gross $2,000 and there's a $700 pack, there's only $1,300 commissionable. Again, it's only $1,300 commissionable. Well, they're stealing from me. No, the hell they're not. Did you understand? I'm a business owner. You know how much shit that costs? Staples, lights, the lunch, toilet paper, all that stuff costs money. And people don't want to hear this. I don't care. Well, you should care about your employer, because if you want your employer to care about you, but you don't care about them and their situation, why should they care about you and your family?
Mm-hmm.
So you got to understand that the employer has a lot of built-in sunken cost. For example, when I tell employees this, they're shocked. Let's say you work at a typical dealership and there's 10 salespeople, three managers, and then an F&I. So there's 4 managers. Let's say there's 14 employees on the front end, right?
Mm-hmm.
Do you realize that if I own the dealership, if this is Bradley Motors, not only do you all 14 of you guys, and ladies and gentlemen that are on my team, have to pay taxes to the government, whatever all your taxes are, I've got to match all of your taxes. So the employer has to pay their own taxes, and I got to match each and every one of the employees' taxes. So most people don't understand this because that's not the world that they live in. It doesn't mean that they're not smart or whatever. It doesn't affect them, so they don't care. I'm telling you, this is why there's a pack. So now let's go back to it. So if there was no pack, which I don't know any dealership that doesn't have a pack, that's a franchise dealership. Almost all that I've ever met in my 30 years almost in the business has a pack. But if there's $2,000 gross, $700 pack, that means the commissions is only $1,300. So $1,300 at a 25% commission, boom, boom, that's $325. So again, just because you grossed, $2,000, you got to pay attention to your pack. So you know what's really important? Don't get distracted by the percentages. Focus on the pack, because you could have 30% commission, but if you've got an $1,100 pack, bam, you've been cracked like a baby seal. So what I would say, what's more important than what the percentages of the front end or back end or any of that stuff would be, is the pack. You want the lowest pack possible. If you ever find a dealership that's got like a $200 or $300 pack, jump on it. Jump, crisscross. You want to jump on it. Follow me on this, right? This is the next part of this. Okay, front end gross, I already explained. What I want to explain now is new car versus used car pack. What I find is that used car dealerships or used car sales usually have a higher pack. Why? Because there's more gross potential on a used car than there is on a typical new car. Now, that might change region to region, OEM to OEM. And I'm not talking about exotics or super high lines. I'm talking about the average meat and potato cars like Ford, Chevys, Toyotas, Hondas, Nissans, Kias, etc. Like the vast majority of the mainstream, product lineup. New cars is usually lower because there's less gross and less gross potential. So again, I want you to focus on pack. Next, there's also the potential of back end. Oh my God. If you have the opportunity to be able to have back end gross, that's a dealership I would want to, take part in, because that means not only would you get a percentage of the gross of the car that you sold, but whatever F&I does on the back, whether it's, on the finance reserve, if it's a flat rate, or if it's any type of products like that's aftermarket etch or insurances or things like that, usually I see back end gross anywhere from 2 to 10%. Now, again, everything I've said on the percentage size, whether it's 15% on the front end, 20%, 25%, usually the more that you sell, the more that you get. So if you are at a gross dealership where you have a percentage of the gross, the more volume you sell, the higher the gross is. Okay. If they're flats or they're static commissions that are stair step, the more volume you sell, the more that it is. Same thing on the back end. The more money that's made, the more units that are sold, the higher the back end is. Now, LA, I'm going to teach you a hustle that most people don't even know about. Aftermarket. You know anything about aftermarket compensation, LA? Oh my God. So you're on mute still again. Can somebody help him? Not only are you blind, but you're mute now. I need you to talk, brother. I mean, because you only got touching. This is a podcast and you can't touch anybody. What do you know about aftermarket compensation?
So only a bit, right? Because of just working with finance managers and things like that, I've learned a little bit about how that works.
All right, so let me break down the game to you, folks. When I worked at Weisslitter, Lincoln Mercury Mazda, shout out to my GSM, Charlie Kearns. He's a legend in the game. So Charlie put me down on the aftermarket, and I was turned out right from the rip. And so what happens is this. So you have front-end gross, you've got back-end gross. Now, some people might put in aftermarket in back-end, but it's not. In my opinion, aftermarket is a whole nother compensation and commission structure. What that means is, I'm going to tell you when I was selling Mazdas. At that point, LA, this is brilliant right here that we thought of. I was selling a shit ton of Mazda MPVs. That's the minivan. So here's how the hustle works. Mazda had an entertainment system, which is the movie theater system, which is like back then, I'm old, don't make any jokes about me. We had VCRs, okay? And then there were DVDs, right? So I did sell DVDs. So what would happen is the invoice, let's just say it was, I think it was like $15.99, right? I'm positive that's what it was back in the early 2000s. It was $15.99 for the Mazda OEM entertainment system. But do you know what the invoice to MSRP was? It was like $300. So that means that the invoice, which is absurd, was $12.99. The MSRP was $15.99. So there was only $300 potential gross. So here's what I did as a ninja, because I was trained the right way. What I did was I found an aftermarket entertainment company, and this is true. You can Google this. There's a company called Movie Vision. Movie Vision Entertainment System was a higher level product than the manufacturer. Why? Because Mazda doesn't specialize in entertainment system. Mazda specializes in Mazdas and minivans. But Movie Vision, that's what their core competency was. So it was a better unit, better technology, better headphones, more comfy, and more features. But guess what the cost was? Okay, I'm gonna give you two costs. My cost with installation, you ready for this, LA, was $899. Woo, baby, $899. What happened is I would turn around and say that these were $1,500, but we're going to give you a big discount. We're going to discount this to $1,199. You know what I mean? So or $1,299 or whatever it was. So I gave the perception to my customers that they were getting a better product, which was true, the entertainment system, but it was much cheaper. But the reality is I was making more gross on here. I'm going to give you a more extreme example. Anybody that ever sold Mercuries, you youngins might even know, what the hell is a Mercury? It's an old person's car, okay? So it had chrome rims, vinyl rooftop. I remember LA selling at Weisslitter Mercury Mazda back in the late 90s, early 2000s, Grand Marquis, and I would lose deals. Okay, I would lose deals like gross on the deal. So I would like literally go triple net. So that means I would go at my dead cost, but I would basically sell aftermarket $5,000 packages. What was my cost? Like $1,500. So I was grossing $3,500 per copy on my Grand Marquis. Now, what was my gross? 25%. Now, LA, there was no pack on the aftermarket back then. So let's do the math. $3,500 divided by the 25, $875 commission. So I would make a mini or flat. Back then, it was like $75 flat. So that was my commission for selling a $30,000 or $40,000 car. You follow me? Was like $75, but selling the freaking like the chrome rims and the vinyl or velour, old people top that was on there, so $875 commission. So do you see, like for me, like I would make a bad decision if I turned down a dealership because they're only giving me 15%, gross when I can make 25% gross. 25% gross on a zero grossing deal is nothing. But if I was able to get aftermarket commissions, or if I was able to get back end commissions, holy smokes, that is awesome. LA, I know I'm breaking down the game to you. It's $1 million worth of game, baby. What's up?
Absolutely phenomenal, man. So basically what I'm getting from that is that, one of the red flags to, a pay plan is the size of the pack, right? They say size don't matter, size does matter, right? Depending on the size of the pack. So listen, Sean, you're giving them a whole bunch of fire, man. It's a lot of stuff that we got to get back into, but I need us to take a quick break because you got everything on fire. We need to reset. And when we come back, we're going to talk about maybe a couple other red flags, but we're also going to break down some of the positive things that you need to be looking for when it comes to the dealership and not just the pay plan. All right. We'll be right back. It's the Millionaire Car Salesman Podcast.
Dealers, are you ready to elevate your success and dominate 2025? Then it's time to check out NCC's Complete CRM, the all-in-one solution built for dealerships like yours. Whether you're an independent, franchise, or dealer group, this platform has been specifically designed to fit your unique needs. For over 30 years, NCC has been leading the way in innovative dealership solutions with built-in tools like Softpool, data mining, inventory, desking, compliance, and call tracking. Complete CRM also seamlessly integrates with your other chosen systems to help you maximize every opportunity, all while focusing on what really powers your sales: credit-driven retailing. Complete CRM specializes in turning credit insights into more profitable deals. So don't just manage your dealership in 2025, transform it. Visit nccdirect.com today to schedule a demo and see how Complete CRM can revolutionize your business. That's nccdirect.com, the smarter way to sell.
This has been the most in-depth training I've had in my lot of years in the car business.
We went from 60 cars to 156 cars a month in 3 months.
NAMAD, the entire Toyota Chicago region, as well as the top automotive groups like Koons, Lithia, and Norm Reeves have all used Bradley On Demand to train their team.
They're the most comprehensive training company I've seen, and they by far have the best support system.
Doing 50 cars a month, topped out at 80. I can tell you that the Bradley On Demand training will get you to the next level.
And guess what? The world's #1 car salesman, Cody Carter, shares his exclusive strategies right here. You want his secrets? You gotta have Bradley On Demand. If you're still not enrolled in Bradley On Demand, you're missing out on the best virtual automotive training in the world. Enroll now or contact us for a free test drive of the platform today.
We're back. This is SVB and the Blind Phone Master and the Millionaire Car Salesman Podcast. And what I was just saying right before the break, LA, we were talking about aftermarket growth. Anything you want to add on that or questions?
No, man. I mean, again, you was laying down the fire, man. And so you basically talked about the red flags. You talked about some of the positive things and the way you basically positioned yourself to make more money, even in situations where you were maybe had a flat. So I thought that was kind of cool.
Nah, thank you. Now, I want to transition to the next thing that we get, which I do agree with everybody that's in the group, the lack of transparency. If, some dealerships, unfortunately, don't give what's called wash sheets or commission sheets, you should never, ever be in a situation where you don't know what you're making. That's not fair, and I don't think it's very ethical. Now, here's the thing I will say. Don't misconstrue my words. Rewind this podcast, and managers, if your people said I said something, unless you heard it from me, don't believe it, because this is where people are going to hear what they want to hear. What I'm saying is, I do understand a manager perspective. I'm not going to necessarily want my salesperson, especially a new or untrained or underperforming sales professional, to know necessarily how much I own the cars for or what's going on before or as they're working the deal. That's not appropriate. That's not your concern. Now, if a manager or a dealership gives you that access, that's okay. Then you're getting more than what I would do if I was your desk manager or GSM. Why? Because people make bad decisions in those categories. Because if I think that I'm holding $4,000 or I'm only holding $1,000, whatever, I might leave money on the table because most people, no offense, are weak. They're weak. They're not trained correctly. So now I want to keep them ignorant of this. I want them to be able to max gross. Because remember, you can always go down, but you can't go back up. As a manager, like, guys, this is not FEMA. Ladies and gentlemen, this is not FEMA or the Red Cross. This is not a charity. We're not trying to give cars away. Full price is fair price. There's nothing wrong with maxing gross as long as we do it legally, ethically, and professionally, and we get great CSI. And if we could do that, there's nothing wrong with making all the money. I start twitching. I start getting upset, like I got Tourette's or something like that if I give money away. If somebody says, I'll take it, I'm like, damn, I left money on the table. So again, there's a reason why your managers or your dealership might not tell you until afterwards. Now, after you sold the deal, if they don't tell you or show you through a wash sheet or commission sheet or whatever you call it at your dealerships, what the gross was, they're transparent, then I would question that.
Mhm.
And I have heard horror stories at some stores where the commissions are messed up. They got to fight for it. I would never work at a place like that. I would never now, in all fairness, give grace.
Yeah.
Meaning that people make mistakes and there's clerical errors. We're only human. I don't know. We heard that apparently our government is giving away $5 trillion they misplaced somewhere. So if the United States government could just, misplace $5 trillion, there's a possibility that your accounts payable or your controller, your office manager might have messed up your commission. Now, once, twice, maybe is a mistake. But if it's every time, without exception, without fail, you're getting aired out or ripped off, then looks like a duck, quacks like a duck. It's probably a lame duck. LA?
Yeah, absolutely. And I think that, that's where I talk about that all the time. And it's interesting you use the word because I've talked about that probably for the last 7 days here at Dealer Synergy, just having grace, right? When you got a new person, there's so many different things that they're trying to digest. And people who've been around for a while, sometimes they forget what it's like to be new, right? So they're like, what? You can't get no, it's not how it works, right? They're not only adjusting to all the information they're getting, they're adjusting to new environments, new personalities. They don't have the emotional bank accounts built up with everybody at the dealership, right? So there's a lot of stuff to deal with, right? So we got to just have some grace and let's get it together. So same deal when it comes to your accounts payable department, right? Just have a little grace, especially they working with, just 14 different people, right? Okay, look, mistakes happen, right? But again, you know the difference, right? You know good and well when something is a specific problem that just keeps happening over and over and over again, and when it's like, oh, it seems like during this particular time, it all of a sudden is a challenge, right? You notice that type of stuff, so it's got to pay that type of stuff some attention. But I think for the most part, folks should absolutely be. We always talk about legal, ethical, moral, just have those values.
I want to give a pro tip here, LA too. I mean, folks, you're an adult. Okay, dealers don't hire children, legally for showroom sales. Not normally, not that I've ever seen. So what I mean by that is, grow up, be a professional, and track your own money. Because I ask questions, hey, do you have a log of your financials? Which means when I was selling cars, man, I had a whole system. This is before CRM. Yes, I'm that old. Okay. So before CRMs, I used to have a binder and I would have a log of all my solds. I would have stock number, VIN number. I would have the MSRP. If I had access to the tissue or invoice, what we owned it for, I would also have what the gross was, what the pack was. I had it all broken down. I didn't have to find and dig out random papers, go in this drawer, go in that drawer. I mean, if you're not tracking your money, you're going to expect somebody else to do that? I wouldn't. This is your money. You're an adult. So you need to have a tracking system for your compensation, whether it's a spreadsheet, whether it's an app, whether it's an old school, old person binder, whatever. LA, would you agree about tracking your money?
Absolutely, man. We've been doing that since we were kids, man. When you do, selling candy and all that kind of stuff like that, you track, you wonder about, okay, where am I? Did I get to the B, C, D, E, F in the fundraiser sheet and all that kind of stuff like that? So again, you have to be on your own game. I think that's a part of what happens is, again, people are used to, I'll just kind of use this because we were talking earlier today and I was saying that, what happens in life, right? Do you understand that cows don't give milk? They don't give milk, right? You got to go milk them. You know what I'm saying? It's like life just, I got a job and everything is done for me, right? That's not the mindset that you want to have as an adult, right? You want to say, hey, you know what? I know certain things are other people's responsibility, but then there are certain things that are my responsibility, right? And together, as we work together, there is an interdependence to this thing. But I'm not just, oh, well, you're supposed to do this, you're supposed to do, well, I don't know this and I don't know that. And I'm not a whiner, right? Look, we either got to win or we got to whine. It's going to be one or the other. That's my take on the whole flow.
No, LA, you're right. And there's a couple other things I want to add on to this because I love this conversation. I feel like I've been just itching to just get this off my chest because, again, this is what I see almost daily. And I delete that because it's craziness information. Here's another thing. Spiffs. What is a spiff? Okay, so you've got a commission, right? Actually, before we get into spiffs, what about bonuses? So we've been talking about them, but I haven't used the word bonus. So if I work at a dealership, there's usually a volume and or gross bonus. What that means is, like if I sell X amount of cars, like I mentioned before, I'll make more money or I'll get some type of extra compensation. If my grosses are X amount or they're high enough, I might get a bonus commission or some bonus compensation. Those are bonuses. But what's a spiff? A spiff is jargon. It's an industry term for any type of incentive. So I've seen a myriad. Anytime a manager owner wants to get you to do something, for example, selling a hat trick. If you sell 3 cars in a day, some dealers might put $100, $150, $200 on it or whatever it is. Or if you sold 8 cars by the 15th of the month or something like that, there might be a bonus. If you have an end of the month bonus, if you have a specific volume bonus, because you would understand, especially now with the economy getting back to what it was pre-COVID, there's something called floor plan. A lot of people don't understand that most car dealerships do not own the inventory that's on the lot. I'm going to repeat that. What? Yes, most dealerships don't own the inventory. They have what's called a floor plan, which is a loan. So the floor plan might be $2 to $10 million or more, and the banks own those cars, and they'll give you a grace period. Well, let's say it's 30 days, but if the vehicle is in stock for over X amount of time, the dealership actually pays tax or a penalty on it. So I'll give you an example. If you've got a used car that's in your inventory, or even worse, a new car in your inventory for, let's say, 6 months. Oh my God, that's crazy. That's like the equivalent of having raw fish in the baking sun. It's putrid, okay? Because you're hemorrhaging money at that point. So a manager might put a spiff on that particular vehicle. Hey, this is a hot car. If you could turn around and sell this vehicle, there's a $500 flat spiff on this vehicle. I have other dealers that have spiffs on reviews. Hey, if you get X amount of 5-star reviews or X amount of video testimonials, that'll be X amount of dollars. So if you got X amount of referrals. So anytime a dealership wants to incentivize you or get you to do something, they might incentivize you, AKA bribe you with what's something called a spiff.
Yeah.
LA, can you add on that?
Yeah, absolutely. And it's so interesting because you're talking about having aged inventory, right? And one of the things that helps us to not have aged inventory, like move stuff fast, is having someone who can help you book test drives, like without you having to physically do the work. What am I talking about? I'm talking about what Podium does with Jerry, right? The one cool thing about AI is it's fast, right? You don't have to, it's not all slow and okay, I gotta mosey and all of that. No, AI is just gonna get the job done, right? When it's communicating with customers ain't got time to be waiting around. You ever send a text message, you want to know the answer real fast and like people taking forever to text back? Like that's so annoying, right? But the cool thing about Jerry is he responds in 15 seconds. Right. And then I love how smart it is because we can teach it. We could train it to say, hey, you know what? Focus on these vehicles because they've been in the inventory 40, 45, 50 days. Right. So before it hits 60 days, we can really do a better job of marketing those particular vehicles. Right. So when I talk about promotions, right, this is some of the things that Jerry can do. Right. It's absolutely amazing. It really does know your dealership inside and out. Right. And Jerry's working with over 6,000 dealerships. So, a little play like, oh, this only got like 6 customers. No, 6,000. Right. And so, listen, if you want to have an AI powered sales routine going on, like you got the actual, what they call it, the nitrous, right? You got that going on for your sales, then you want to go to podium.com/MCS so you can get some of this fast, smart sales booking, test drive booking going on in your life. All right, we're gonna talk soon.
So LA, I want to now transition to something called spins. Do you know what spins are?
That's something fun. You and I have had that conversation before. Spins.
Spin money.
Yeah.
So okay, what a spin is from the manufacturer now.
Mhm.
So now I apologize if you are an independent dealership or used car dealership, then I apologize because this does not, is not relevant to you. This is specifically exclusive to franchise dealers. So let's say, for example, when I worked at Mazda, we used to have originally back in the day checks. Then a lot of the OEMs went to like debit cards.
Mhm.
And what happens is what they'll do, first of all, you have to be product certified. And again, certain manufacturers have standard product certification, and there's master product certification, and there might be grandmaster or whatever the equivalent is for your OEM. And depending what level of product specialist that you are, what level your CSI and how much volume you sell is going to dictate the level of your spins. So they might fluctuate. Let's say, for example, remember the Mazda MPVs I was talking about? The manufacturer might say, hey, for the month of March, any Mazda MPV, you could get a spin check or spin compensation from anywhere from $50 to $500. Now, some of that might be by chance, like a raffle, like random. That's why they call it spin, like spin to win. Or it might be based, like I said, on your levels. But the takeaway is this: it's based on the manufacturer setting, for that month. Just like they set up rebates and incentives on a monthly basis, well, they usually articulate, if they even offer spins, month to month, what type of spin money there is. So I got to tell you right now, I used to make thousands and thousands of dollars extra. It's like supplemental income. So let me go through the pay plan recap. I would get compensated on the front end gross of my deal. At some stores, I've got compensated on my front end and my back end gross of the deal. As I mentioned before, when I worked at Weissleiter, I got compensated on front end, back end, and aftermarket gross. Then obviously we had, besides my commissions and my bonuses, I had spiffs from the dealership on whatever they wanted me to do. And then on top of all that, I had my OEM spins. So if you think about it, just like a real business owner, just like a real entrepreneur, we're always fond in the automotive industry saying that car sales is like owning your own business. I own 11 real companies in real life as Sean Bradley. When I was selling cars, I had multiple revenue streams coming through. Again, I had my gross from the front end, back end. I had my bonus money. I had my spin money. I had my spiff money. And then with the money I was making, I'd invested in other things. So you want to be able to diversify. Now, speaking LA, I'm really glad that you had mentioned about the technology with AI and Jerry and Podium, because again, one of the things that when I worked at the dealership, one of the CRMs that we had that I loved was Promax. I love Promax because of the technology. Promax has been in business for over 30 years. They are probably the absolute best CRM company in the automotive industry, and especially since NCC has acquired them, which is the National Credit Center. It's taken it to a whole nother level. So you can go into your CRM, especially if you're using Promax, and you could turn around and look. If I knew that I was going to be able to get $500 commissions just on Mazda MPVs, well, guess what I would do? I would go in through data mining, equity mining, and try to create campaigns to target, people that are interested in Mazdas, former Mazda customers, anywhere, new Mazda customers, old Mazda customers, anywhere where I could get my spin money. LA, does that make sense to you?
Yeah, absolutely, 100%. So I know initially when you started in the business, you said they didn't have the CRMs. You was doing the ink and the paper and the long out drawn.
That was in 1999. So when I started selling cars, let me clear this up. Okay. So when I started selling cars in 1999, we had paper desk logs and highlighters. Like anybody that sold cars back then or before then, we had these elongated horizontal, desk logs. We had Sharpies, black and red Sharpies, and yellow highlighters. And we used a what was called a Stuker from Tom Stuker's tickler file system for management. Then roughly around 2000, 2001, the first CRM started to come out. We were using Goldmine, Act, Mazda MDOL, and then Promax. Like I said,
Wow.
Promax started out in its primitive stages like about 30 years ago.
Yeah.
So again, thank you for clearing that up. But yes, when I first started it, I was antiquated. Then we started getting into the technology.
Nice. And so I'm sure that was life changing for you. I mean,
Oh my God. It was, because utilizing a CRM, whether it's Promax or any other good CRM, to be able to surgically target and maximize your pay plan. We haven't used this phrase before, but what real good managers try to tell their people, for all departments, work your pay plan. I don't care if you're the GM, GSM, F&I manager, service manager, BDC director, salesperson, or BDC rep. Here's my best advice I could give for this episode. Work your pay plan. You need to understand your pay plan. Once you understand it, you need to create a strategy, a tactical strategy on how you're going to engage your pay plan. So for example, ladies and gentlemen, let's use some common sense here. And unfortunately, common sense isn't so common. If I can make $500 spin money on Mazda MPVs, why the hell am I selling, B series trucks back then that I have a $75 average commission? $575, $500, $75. I don't know. I'm going to spend all my time on the $75 commission. That's why you're going to lose, and that's why you're going to go work at Olive Garden or something like that, because it's not going to work out for you. Work your pay plan, LA.
Yeah, and that's exactly the advice that whenever I come across it in the Millionaire Car Salesman Facebook group, I talk to them about, hey, listen, even if I schedule a time and I'll have conversations with people, I'm listening, okay, let's talk about exactly what your pay plan is, and let's find a way to work that pay plan instead of saying, oh, hey, gotta switch out. Let's see what you have, and let's find a way to maximize that. So I thought that was absolutely fire. You're saving some of the most fire advice for the end, Sean. And look, you're giving them that heat, boy.
I want to listen to the whole episode. You know what I'm saying? I want to listen to all of it. You know what I'm saying? This is great. So LA, let's role play for a second here. So let's just say that you were interviewing me and for the job, and I'm talking to you, or even I basically have just worked there for like 2 weeks or whatever. Mm-hmm. And I come to you, you're my general sales manager, or you're my sales manager. Let's role play. 3, 2, 1. Hey, LA, sir, can I talk to you for a little bit? I need some help.
Sure. What's up?
Okay, listen, I got this pay plan here and I kind of get it, but I don't really understand it. And I don't want to kind of fumble through. If you were me and you just got started out, can you help me understand this pay plan? How can I make the most amount of money? Can you help me? Because I heard somebody say, work the pay plan. What does that actually mean?
It's a great question. There you go. That's lovely, right? So
you know what I'm saying? That's it right there. Yeah. Okay. So now for me, I'm gonna reverse the roles. Let's say LA was the salesperson and I'm the manager. I would basically go, and it obviously depends what the pay plan is. I would say, okay, first as a manager, I want to make sure that you understand each and every part of this: front end, back end, aftermarket, packs, no packs, spiffs, spins, etc. So first part, before I could give you a strategy, I need to make sure that we're on the same page, that you understand this. And look, I don't want to offend any manager or owner, but man, I'm telling you right now, most of your employees, most of them, not even just some of them, don't understand the pay plan. Why do you say that, Sean? Because I know the data.
Say that again.
Folks, no offense and no disrespect, but if you think that every one of your employees on the floor understands their pay plan and is maximizing their pay plan, you are wrong and or you're delusional, because that's not it. How do I know? Because NADA says that the average salesperson out of the 18,000 plus franchise dealerships only sell 9.6 cars. So if they freaking understood the pay plan, they wouldn't be just selling 9.6 cars. The average salesperson is only making like $55,000 a year, maybe 60 now because of the pandemic, the average salesperson. But yet Cody Carter made over $1.2 million last year selling Toyotas in California. But yet there could be a ton of, I know if you're a Toyota salesperson, I know you ain't making $1.2 million selling Toyotas, but guess who is? Cody Carter. Cody Carter, 3 times. Cody Carter. He's selling that and he's making that because he understands how to work his pay plan. Right or wrong, LA?
Absolutely. But I think he understands a couple other things too, but that's...
That's a different episode.
Absolutely. So listen, y'all, man, this has been absolutely stupendous. I know that we have questions, and I think this is gonna have we have to do a part 2, Sean, because you just broke down all of the different things that you would say as a manager to a new salesperson, right? And so if you feel like, hey, you know what, man, LA, Sean, I understand now, and you've given me some homework. I know what to understand and what I learned, what I should learn about, and everything. now I want to kind of get some of the questions that I have about my specific pay plans answered, you can definitely do that. And listen, I know we talk about how, your people don't ask the right questions, and we want you to teach you to do that, but keep asking questions inside the Millionaire Car Salesman Facebook group, because we will be answering them. So we got a list of questions that we do want to answer.
Let me say something real quick, Ellie, on this. I agree with you. I want to end this episode just on this, but I want to add one piece to this. I love this episode so much that we just did. Thank you, LA. Next episode, or maybe one of the next episodes, I think instead of just focusing on the pay plan, which we did this entire episode, I want to focus on the better question. And I'm going to leave them with a cliffhanger. What is a better question? And is my pay plan good? Am I working at the right dealership? What is the best dealership to work at? Because just like we say, we're never going to tell a prospect, I'm going to give you the best price, because that's a lie. I'm going to give you the best deal, because the best deal is more than just the price. And if you believe that, because I believe that to be the case, well, why does that not apply to you as it relates to the pay plan? Oh, that's good, LA, right?
Absolutely. That best deal thing, it reminds me of what you just said about that aftermarket system, right? I would rather have the aftermarket system that you talked about, a higher quality system, that's pay less money, right? And I'm not, so in that situation, I am getting a better deal, right?
Yes.
Getting more high quality.
Don't get distracted with the carrot. Don't get distracted with the carrot. The carrot is just the initial pay plan. Gotcha, baby. Hooked. No, good. Get the best deal for you and your family. And we'll get into this time, compensation, demos or demo allowance. There's a whole bunch, man. So I can't wait to get into that episode. LA, let's close it out, baby. Let's go.
So y'all know how we do this, man. I always say you are the average of the 5 people who you spend the most time with. And you've just been spending time with not only Mr. Sean V. Bradley breaking down those pay plans, but you've been hanging out with me, man. L.A. Williams, the Blind Master. Make sure you go get a copy of the book, because I know a lot of folks been doing. Like, if you feel like, hey, you know what, I want to make sure I win, you got to have an idea. Like, so what my pay plan is, what it is, I'm going to maximize it, right? My idea is, so what I can't see, I'm going to win in the face of fear, uncertainty, and doubt. A lot of folks have a lot of uncertainty about their pay plan, but you got to win anyway. So it's your turn. Go out there and be a millionaire car salesman. We'll talk to y'all later. Peace.
Synergy, baby. Dealer synergy.
Thank you so much for watching this week's episode. If you liked it, you're gonna love Bradley On Demand. Bradley On Demand is the most advanced virtual training, tracking, testing, and certification platform. What does that mean? It's an online university. And if you like this information here, we have hundreds and hundreds of advanced videos, step by step, on how to help you sell more cars more often and more profitably, so sign up now.